And we're back. We are so back, baby.
What's going on, man?
Jared, you still bopping to that?
I just love music, man. I really want us to do, if there's a way that we can do an episode on like some of the newest music that's out or something. My love for music is starting to come back slowly but surely, like for new music and stuff like that. So I want us to.
Your love of music went away?
Yeah, I just kind of, was just like whatever about it for a while. It was not high on the priority list for a while, but it's starting to creep back in there. So if there's a way that we can do some content on either new artists, some of the classics without getting copyrighted would be nice, and fined would be nice.
Jared, you don't have to twist my arm when it comes to music. We can definitely chat about music.
But what do we got going on today, Josh? And who are we?
It is just our second book club. We are Armchair Analysis, and we are hosting. That's right. Not just our first book club, our second one. That means we've read 2 whole books this entire year. Wow. It's pretty good. Jared, let me just. Not bad. So last time we picked your book, that was David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me. I mean, we went through a real life story about how just basically a guy kind of went from like rags to riches and, really relayed a lot of like his teachings, his learnings throughout that process. And, I'm not one to read these like self-improvement books, but I thoroughly enjoyed his storytelling. Some of the tasks he had us do, I wasn't necessarily like, I was like, all right. I'm, kind of gimmicky, but either way, I really liked the book. Now this time, Jared, what book did we do?
Well, we chose your book, or you had a choice, right? And you chose Stephen King.
I sure did have a choice.
11/22/63, which is, I know we're going to get into it, but was a good book. It was a really good book, actually. And it pretty much summarizes the social experiment of what would you do if you had a chance to go back in time and alter history. And then what would be the potential repercussions of that? So definitely excited to get into it. First and foremost, what was your reason for picking this book?
So my reasoning for picking, I know I kind of got into like, you're like a self-improvement. You like to learn things. When I read a book, I like to escape, right? And when I like to escape, I typically choose, thrillers. I would choose maybe it's like a horror or maybe it's just fantasy. So just take me away, take me somewhere else. Now I've read a couple Stephen King books and they're all horror related. Now I've never read, his like The Green Mile or Shawshank Redemption, whatever, like his books that aren't horror related. So this was the first book of his that I was just really intrigued because one, it kind of touches on everything I like. I like Stephen King. I like conspiracy theories. We're talking about JFK here. So I was excited. Now it was a little daunting. Again, this was an 800+ page book, but I think in the grand scheme of things, there was a couple moments where I could not put this book down. And I am not a fast reader. And I think in one sitting, I think I went through like 250 pages. I truly, this book had me just in a whole nother.
How long did that take you? You said you're not a fast reader.
I mean, it might have taken me all day, but
that's all right. Hey, that's all
right.
Way,
hey, So Jared, hit me with
that
next slide. So I like to really, when we do these book clubs, at least throw in one quote that kind of stood out. Now it's a Stephen King book. He's very like an illustrative writer. So a lot of his, quotes are, I don't know, they're very meaningful and they're, there's just kind of imagery involved. Now this one I think ties to just like the book in general. And that is stupidity is one of the 2 things we see most clearly in retrospect. The other is mischances. So I chose this quote again, because I think it ties to the book, but I think it's also very true to just everyday life. Like how many times, Jared, have you sat down on a couch after, an event and you're like, damn it, I should have done this differently. Damn it, I should have done that differently. Or
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because you definitely have a lot of I mean, I think every day I have moments and all throughout the day where you do something and yeah, like you said, you right away, or maybe it's hours later, you think, dang, I really wish, I could have handled things slightly different than the way I did. But it's one of those things where you don't want to harp on that too much, right? You don't want to if you spend
right.
way time living in the past of what you could have done differently. It's like, learn from it and move on. But I do like the other is missed chances. I think that was really powerful for me, that part of that quote, because there are so many times in life where I think we don't even realize it in the moment where we've had an opportunity to do something, and out of fear, out of ignorance, out of distraction, maybe we don't take advantage of that opportunity. And it comes back to bite us practically every time.
Now I can think of a couple instances when this kind of comes into play. And I think one of the biggest things is just like dating, right? I couldn't tell you how many times the next day after, either like talking to a girl at a bar or something, and not only am I like, wow, that was a missed chance, but I said something completely stupid, like, wow, your friend's really cute, when this girl's clearly like talking, like, just you look back and it's
Mm,
just like, oh man, I wish I could take my foot out of my mouth. So
yeah.
like, again, really love this quote. What I'd like to do is just give a quick synopsis. Now, again, this is an 800-page book, so I'm going to do my best here.
Hey,
Now,
Josh, while you give that synopsis, I'm going to step away real quick, but I'll be right back.
yes, sir. So basically, our book starts in we're met with George, who is a school teacher in I might be like the 2000s, whatever, and he makes friends with the owner of a diner. Well, this owner comes back the next day and he looks 60 years older, 50 years older, just does not look himself. And he's basically like, hey, I'm selling the diner. I want you to come back. Really confusing for George. He doesn't know what's going on. He honors the diner owner's wishes, comes back and is like, hey, what's going on, man? I just saw you like yesterday and you looked fine. Now, like overnight, you look like you're on death row. Well, it turns out this diner has some special nook in it where, if you walk through it just right, you actually transport back in time. And that's exactly what he asks George to do. He basically says, hey, I'm too old for this. If I go in again, there's no chance I make it back out. I've tried. I've taken notes. I think that if we can save JFK from being slain, then it will alter history. You know, uh, what are some of the things he mentions, Jared? Like if he goes back and prevents JFK from dying, he mentions this whole like butterfly effect of things, positive things that should happen, right? I think he mentions like Martin Luther King doesn't die, civil rights moves quicker, just all these things. We don't go to war. We don't go to. I don't think we don't have like a Cold War. It was really just thought provoking. So George takes him up on the offer. He goes in, and he goes in a couple separate occasions just to kind of test the waters. The last time he finally goes in, and he's in there for good. He is in there. He's trying to essentially follow Lee Harvey Oswald. He's got the diner owner's notes, and he's taking notes of like his own, like, okay, this is exactly what he's going to do and when. And sure enough, everything that is written in this notebook is exactly how it plays out. So,
Well, hold on, Josh, real quick. Couple of things to note.
ah,
The one thing I thought that was fascinating was that the owner of this diner, the whole reason why he seeked out George Amberson is because he realized, kind of sad, George didn't really have anything that he knew George wouldn't have anything to really miss going back home to. George was
that's
going
right.
through it with his divorce with his ex-wife, who was an alcoholic. So he was, single in that regard, didn't have any kids, and was just kind of living life day to day with no real major aspirations. Had kind of been, in his own words, like a failed author. So just teaching English day to day and just kind of going through the routine. And I think his friend, the owner of this diner, kind of knew that and saw that and was like, okay, he's obviously a good person, but because he didn't really have too much going on, he knew. Way I looked at it was, I think he knew he could manipulate him to be the one to take this over, because he was dying, he gotten sick. And one thing I had wondered was the sickness because he was constantly going back and forth in time. Did that maybe do
Right.
something to his body that caused him to get really ill? Now he also didn't live a healthy life. I think he was a pretty avid smoker, like chain smoker and drinker and things of that nature, and just not really getting a lot of sleep. And like you said, had lived now technically maybe 20, 30 years more than anybody in that actual reality. And then the other thing to chat about before he even gets, a good chunk of this was before he even got to Oswald, right? Let's talk about maybe some of the trials and tribulations he went through when it comes to trying to help out his student.
Yeah. So
That
again,
was crazy.
it,
That was
it, it's
crazy.
it's a long book, so I
And
didn't
the
want to give
girl,
everything
and
away.
the girl.
But
Remember that the owner of the diner didn't just ask him to do the Lee Harvey Oswald situation. He had George promise that he would resave the little girl who accidentally got shot by somebody else hunting in the woods that day on his
yes,
way to Lee
yep.
Harvey Oswald.
So he did use this power for good, right? He tried to. I think the girl, he had stopped getting shot in the woods, which eventually paralyzed her from the waist down. So she lost her.
Mhm.
She basically, you know, lost any sensation from the waist down. And then the other thing was the one of the janitors was. I mean, this guy was made fun of. I think he had like a his walk was weird. Kids made fun of the way he looked, and that was because his father 50 years ago had actually come in and basically slaughtered his entire family. Him include, like, he was part of the massacre before someone had actually like came in and intervened. So
Mhm.
I mean, this guy,
He got lucky. He got
he
lucky, I
got he
think.
got very lucky. I mean, they said, and trying not to get into too much detail, but there was a sledgehammer involved, and he watched the rest of his family perish. So George made it a point to go back and help this kid,
Mhm.
help save the family. So he did a lot of good. Well, I guess the whole thing, like the whole point of this, was trying to do good, right? Trying to improve the future. So he goes back and he's there for years. He gets in, he would always go back the same exact time. So he had time to kill. Well, he
And
ends up,
only how many minutes would pass every time he went back to his own reality? It was like 2 minutes only
no
had
matter
passed or
what,
something
no
like
matter
that.
what, 2 minutes. He could be there in 10
Yeah,
years. He could have been there 30 seconds. 2 minutes passes.
it's crazy.
So he's killing time, and he ends up, he's a teacher by trade. So he goes to the local high school, and, he falls in love, befriends the locals. I mean, it's
Mhm.
really cool. Like, I think like half the book is just him basically living this life that he never really got a chance to. Jared, you kind of got into this a little bit, where he had nothing in the present, but in the past, he had friends, he had a girlfriend, he had students that adored him. Like, it was, I think that was really cool to see. Like, just that yin yang almost. Just anyway, he again, he's got this girlfriend. He's head over heels for her. He eventually, I think, tells her. He says, "Hey, by the way, I am from the future," and she doesn't believe it. Sure
But he
enough, he says
resists. He resists for a long time and
he
just
did
kind of
resist for a
alludes
long
to
time.
her. He
Yes.
alludes to the fact of, there's a big secret that you either won't believe me or you'll think
Yep.
I'm crazy. And now she's already been through life, has already been lifing for her, in not so great ways at this point. And she chooses pretty
And
much.
what was that, Jared? She had like an abusive ex.
She had an abusive ex and unfortunately didn't have family members who supported her in trying to get away from this abusive ex. So in the midst of leaving her ex, she also had to kind of sort of cut ties with her immediate family, like her parents, that wanted her to just stay in that terrible situation that she was in. And with her having already gone through life the way she had, she kind of, you can kind of tell that there's an under this unspoken understanding between the two of them, that clearly something's off with George, I think now known as Jake at this point, and his girlfriend kind of gets it, but nobody's really, kind of, there's just this constant elephant in the room that nobody's really actually addressing. And like you
Yeah,
said,
because
eventually,
I think they said some of those things he would say, like he would like accidentally like sing songs out loud, and they'd be like, "Where? What is that from?" Like, and it was like the
mhm.
Rolling Stones or something.
Yeah, yeah. So it was interesting, man. That was a really interesting, and like you mentioned, that I think, obviously, hopefully, a lot of you guys were able to read this book, and for those that haven't yet, what I think is good to just constantly remind yourself as you're reading and kind of conceptualizing what's going on is understand just how long it took, like how long George was willing to wait to get to the
Yeah,
whole, point of the story with trying to stop Lee Harvey Oswald from assassinating JFK. Just, it was a long time. It was many, many years that he was there for, and in the midst of that, not only did he meet this girl, but because of what she had gone through and what he realizes she goes through, he then in the midst, I think, does he do it all over again? Right? Doesn't he, like, because he messes something up? So then he does it all over again.
so I think he goes in 3 times, right?
Okay.
I think 3 times. The first one he goes in and he tries to save the little girl from again becoming like getting shot, and I think he had to reset that one, and then he went back in again. He went back in again because he didn't quite save the family. Like a couple of them still died. I think he saved the kid, but he didn't. Yeah, again, he didn't save the family, so he went back. And then the third time, he was like in it for good, I believe.
Okay.
Maybe he did. Maybe
Okay.
he did go in one more time.
Yeah, well, and I think one of the first, I think there was a couple times too in the beginning where he was in just to like test the waters because he didn't believe,
Right.
and everything. But yeah, 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 you're pretty much right. All right, all right. I know I've been belaboring it, but let's get to the juicy part. All right.
All right. So the juicy part. So I mean, the whole premise of the story is he is trying to save JFK, but again, now he's got this whole other life. He's got this whole other girl he's trying to protect, knowing very well that there's this crazy ex of hers that is out there that she still thinks she's like he's going to show up eventually. He's not concerned. Anyway, he is following Lee Harvey Oswald around. I think it's probably like a day or two before the actual assassination, and he gets a call, and she's like screaming. I think he goes, you'll never see this girl again, like you fucking dick or something like that, and hangs up. So he immediately leaves the scene where Harvey is, rushes back, and she is like, I think they said he cut like almost like the Joker style, like
Mm.
because I just
I
remember
mean, he
something about like
sliced, yeah, he sliced her cheek or something.
yes, he sliced her cheek, and I mean I think he said you could see bone. It was very descriptive,
Yeah, it was
little
bad.
gory, blood everywhere.
Mind
So
you, he's living. It's either next door or just below. I think it's next door. It's either that. It's either next door, across the street, or just below Lee Harvey Oswald when all
yeah,
this is going down. Like he was able to rent out the place literally right next to Lee Harvey Oswald.
yeah. So he ends up saving her. That's all great. And then I think in that moment is when I think he might have actually mentioned like, "Hey, I'm from the future," and I think he even says like, "Hey, I want you to come with me. We've got better technology in the future. This like scar, this like her
Yeah,
cheek
they'll
would
be able to
be
do the
much better."
surgery.
Yep. So and they actually agree to that. They agree. She's like, "Yep, I'm ready to make that jump with you. I trust you enough. I love you. Well, the day comes and he's like, I need to do this by myself. Well, they end up somehow together. And the whole point of this is like the past does not want to be changed. So the last like 50 pages of this book is George trying to get to was it like the American Textbook Warehouse, or I don't like the literature museum or whatever it was, where Harvey Oswald was posted up, and the universe was not trying to let George or Jake at the time go in and prevent that from happening. So I mean, there's car
That's what they
accidents.
say, right? They say the one quote that's repeatedly used in the book is the past is obdurate, meaning the past is stubborn. It does not want you to
Yes.
change what happened. Yeah.
Yes. And they say like the magnitude of like it potentially changing the future makes it even worse. So
When
I
he
mean
gets jumped, right? So that's one of the things that
yes.
happens is he gets borderline beaten to death, and completely unrelated to Lee Harvey Oswald, he borderline gets beaten to death because somebody had followed him from the town that he was in, like Derry. I forget the name of the town. It started with a D, I think, but from the town he
Right.
was in on his
He was
way,
gambling, right?
gambling and just getting involved with the wrong people. And so they followed him somehow, or were able to like make connections. And just so happens like or maybe like a week or two before he's supposed to stop Lee Harvey Oswald, he gets beaten to death. And his girlfriend is relentless in one, just finding him, because at that point he had already cut off communication. He was like, I don't want you anywhere near this for the next couple of weeks. And she was healing back home and everything. And so one, she's relentless in just finding him, because she was able to find him somehow without knowing at all where he was living and staying. And then, like you said, refuses to let him do it alone, because she's like, there's no way you can physically do this alone. He could hardly walk. He was really injured. So
yeah. Miraculously, he makes it to where Lee Harvey Oswald is. I mean, again, you talk about all the obstacles in his way. He finally makes it. He actually prevents I mean, JFK is just coming on like the street where he's about to get shot. It's probably down. It's down to the seconds. And I just remember, I think Jake calls out like Lee. He turns around and shoots, and there's some wrestling going on, and he finally subdues Lee. I think he might have killed him. I think he might have killed him because he shot, and I think
he missed.
Security, well, he
missed. It was his girlfriend who ended up hitting him.
Oh, that's okay. So
the girlfriend ended up hitting him. There's gunfire back and forth, right? You go through all this. There's all this anticipation. He even says, after all of this, I wasn't even the one who shot Lee Harvey Oswald. It was his girlfriend. But unfortunately, because Jake was still recovering from all those injuries after he got beat up, he got jumped, as Lee Harvey Oswald was shooting back at him and his girlfriend, Lee was supposed to be the one who got shot, but because of his leg he was still healing from, he trips and falls. And unfortunately, his girlfriend gets shot instead. And I mean, I guess I hate to say it, I don't want to give it away too much, but unfortunately, she ends up passing away. And so now he's apprehended by the police, right? Lee Harvey Oswald is dead. They were able to prove it was him, but he's apprehended by the police during all of this. He's just in so much shock. He's distraught. He's sad. He's angry. He's frustrated that all this is happening because, like you said, I mean, he had built a whole life now at this point and was willing to be with this girl for the rest of his life. He was in love. He was in love with her. And, so he's apprehended by the police, local police initially, and then the FBI. They're questioning him. They know that he's only telling like half truths at this point, and it's weird how he knew all these things because nothing was really adding up. And he was just trying really, really hard to get back to Maine so that he could then get back and reset everything, because he really didn't want to see the love of his life dead, even if it took him having to walk all the way back to Maine. He was like, whatever it takes, I'm going to get back to Maine. And he ends up being able to somehow cut a deal, I think, with either like the CIA or the FBI, right, in order to get let free.
They were basically just like, hey, listen, we don't believe you. Just get out of here. Like, genuinely, just like let him go. They said, hey, no hero celebration for you. Just like leave, go back to wherever you came from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, which I thought, now this is what I thought was fascinating, right? and this is where I want to know, like, what would you guys have done, and what would you have done, Josh? Is he gets back to Maine, he sees the same. I think at this point, the green card man is now the yellow card man, and he goes back, right? He goes back in time, or goes back to his original timeline, and then goes back to reset everything. And he ultimately makes the decision to not do anything. And why did he make that decision?
Well, before we do it, ask this question. So he does go back to the future, or he goes back to the present. I'm sorry, and it is completely different. So it is not at all as the business owner, as the diner owner predicted. It's actually like much worse.
Yeah,
and
pretty bad.
So he gets met by the yellow. It was the green card turned into the yellow. I think now it's the black card man, and the black card man is just like, hey, like this is. You have the opportunity to reset this. And, again, the question is, did Jake George make the right decision? And so when he went back, he actually decided just to simply like reset everything, not go back.
Or remember too, he met with the janitor. He found the janitor, met with him, talked with him. And I think what made it so personal on top of everything else was that meeting with the janitor. Then, because what happened to the janitor? The janitor ended up surviving, right? Didn't have the limp or anything, but still ended up actually not having. I mean, I don't want to assume he didn't have the best life, but I think Jake was expecting him to have been just more happy. And he finds the janitor, who is wheelchair bound because of getting injured while in the military, and finds out that. Ended up like I think he was drinking a lot when he found him as well, and just didn't have, I think, what he had built up in his head, the life that the janitor he was expecting the janitor to have, on top of, like you said, the world just being nowhere near what he was hoping it would be.
Right. So did he make the right decision in ultimately going back and resetting? I mean, again, it's kind of going back to the quote, right? It's all hindsight. It's like, what is right and what is wrong. Like he did a good thing by saving JFK, and in turn, the butterfly effect happened and everything changed because of that. I think he made the right decision ultimately. Like, you can't change the past, right? You can't change the past, and that's just the reality of it. So I think him going back and just resetting was really the only option. What do you think, Jack?
I'm torn, man, because it's just, there are so many things that I think it's tough. All right. I don't think it's not an easy answer. It's not an easy answer. And I have so many other questions too, but if to just stick with this one for now, did he end up making the right decision, not only to reset everything, but then deciding to stay in the past and go back to the town in Texas where the love of his life was, without any expectations of being with her, because he was so much older at this point, but just he had become so happy in that town, and the friends he had made, like the local mayor and stuff like that in that town, that that's where he decided he wanted to live the rest of his life. I think for him specifically, he made the right decision. If you think big picture, did he make the right decision? In hindsight, yes, right? Because he was able to see the effects of what happened, and how life for the greater good, I guess, wasn't any better, and in a lot of ways was a lot worse. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
I think it's one of those things. It's like it's almost like he sacrificed his own happiness for the good of the world. Like, that's the way I think.
I guess. I think if he could have done it all over again, he would have saved his girlfriend, but not had saved JFK. I think he would have been willing to make the sacrifice for her, because he still kind of did, in a way. Like, he let her, go through the same experiences, but I assumed that he still gave his colleagues, the mayor and the mayor's wife, or the old principal and his wife, I can't remember what the guy's occupation was, but like a heads up, so that they could be there when her ex-husband found her and tried to harm her. But
See, this it's so
Yeah.
crazy, man. This book has so many layers. Like, you know, I love it. I love it. There's so much. There's like it's a thriller. There's a love story. You know, you get a little bit of like actually like some history lessons. Like there was stuff on there I didn't know. Like a lot of like the Lee Harvey Oswald. Now, how true is it? Like, did Stephen King make any of it up? But like, just really just fascinating. Like this, it
Yeah.
had so many variables and
My question was like, why stop at JFK? Why not try to be there for instance, to stop like the MLK assassination?
well, I thought that's what the diner owner said. He said if he thought it was almost like dominoes, where it's like if we stop JFK, JFK was I think a supporter of equal rights, right? So he wanted to like I think he said if JFK lives, then it'll prevent MLK from dying. It'll be like a whole
But he
dominoes thing.
that for sure. He didn't know that for sure.
Didn't know it for sure, but again, that was just like that was part of like, hey, if we do this, will it?
So,
What
well,
is it
that's what
going
I'm
to be?
saying. So why not stay? Now I get it. His love of his life died, so all he wanted to do was get back and reset that as soon as possible. But my thing is, if you're gonna do the JFK stuff, then because he didn't even know for sure if Lee Harvey Oswald, him and his friend didn't even know if Lee Harvey Oswald was the actual killer. If he was alone when he did it, was he by himself? Was there other
Mhm.
people involved? All of that he was still trying to figure out in the moment in real time. So you still don't know exactly what the side effects are going to be of that. So why not see through and make sure that those other things happen, or at least try your best to help them come true. You know,
Yeah.
but just personal. Again, that's my personal thought is, did he make the right decision to stay? For him, sure, because he's also a white man in America in that time, which life was a little bit more comfortable for the white man in America versus, people of other races. Not to make it necessarily a race conversation, but that's definitely the truth, is that would I have chosen to live in that time? Hell no, I wouldn't have done that, because for the black man living in Texas, like, it would have been terrible. It would have been miserable. So, for Jake or slash
That's a great
George,
point.
I'd say yeah. Yeah, I think he made the right decision. He made the best decision he could, based on all the nuances of the situation.
Yeah.
Now, what do
Got
we
any
got
other
next?
questions for us?
What
Oh,
would you? No, we kind of fed into this a little bit. What would you
yeah.
have done? So again, I would have been a little bit different, but I think I would have tried to see through some of the other things as well
Just like, hey,
before.
JFK is alive. Now, if I stay alive for another 4 or 5 years, can I see what'll happen with
Exactly.
like MLK and the Cold War, like where everything kind of falls into place?
Exactly. I think I would have chosen to. Again, I don't know. I have no idea. I think it's the love of my life. Maybe I would have been so just tunnel vision of, I need to correct this immediate situation. But it would have been interesting to see, like, okay, what if he had stayed and started working with the FBI,
Mhm.
and being like, look, this is how things went down. I know what is to come. I can be of help and try to manage these situations a lot better. But who knows? Who knows if that's what would you have done, Josh? What would you have done?
Man, I don't know, Jared. I like to think that I probably honestly wouldn't have made it as far as Jake. I mean, again, the guy took a beating.
He went through it, man.
He really did. He really did. But it's like, again, he fell in love, and I think just like what you said, I think the tunnel vision got to him. He didn't get a hero's welcome like probably should have happened. It was actually like sort of the opposite. They were a little suspicious of him. So he's like,
Oh
I
yeah,
just want to, get the fuck out of here.
yeah.
And I don't know. I can't fault him. I can't fault him for that. I'm sure if I just watched the love of my life, die, I probably would be, in a very similar
And
mindset.
then also just in hindsight, right? Because then he was able to. Not too many of us, or none of us, really are able to fully see the repercussions of what we choose to do. right? Like we don't, like he had a very unique opportunity to go back in the past and change something and see exactly what came of it. And so of course in hindsight, when you go back to the future, you're like, oh, everything is a lot worse than what it was, you know, for the greater good. Yeah, let me reset this and not change anything. But that's a luxury, if you want to call it that none of us really get to have. So
yeah, I will say, you know, and again, this is all speculation. The book's already written. None of this is real anyway, minus like the whole JFK being assassinated. Is like, I wonder if he could have just gone back and just stayed with Sadie, right? Fell in love, just stayed there. You know what I mean? And not done any of the JFK. Let the assassination go through. You know, I don't know.
That's what I think. If he could redo it all over again, I think that's what he would have done. I think he would have not tried to save JFK and just would have, just
sure. Is some stuff going to be a little bit different? Yeah, but I mean, hell, isn't that like the dream? You go back, and I think this goes to our next question: is, you know, you can go back and, or maybe it's the following question, but basically, I mean, think of everything. If you could go back 50 years with all the knowledge you have now, I mean, what, you put like $100 in like into Apple or into Microsoft, you know, you like, sure, you can probably win pretty good on like some sports betting, which is what Jake did, you know. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I hear you. All right. What would be one thing though, Josh, that if you could change one thing about the past, what would it be?
Oh my God. I'm thinking probably a little bit more selfishly and like all the dumb shit I've done in the years over the years. But like, you know, I guess for me, that's kind of shaped who I am and how I am today. But in history, if I could change anything,
bigger than like immediate family or friends, all that stuff, just like, big picture.
Oh my gosh,
assuming nothing bad would come of it, you know, only good would come of it. It's a big question, right?
That is huge, because you know, again, there's always like, you think about like what with like, I want to say like World War I, didn't like what the Duke Arch was his name, Franz Ferdinand, like was shot, and that led to like World War I, which again, millions of people died. So if he doesn't die, does that prevent millions of people from dying? You know,
and does that change the cascading effects of World War II?
Exactly. Like, does that prevent millions of people from dying in the Holocaust? Like, does that? So, yeah, I don't know if I could pick like a single event. I wonder, and I'm not religious, but I would say I wonder if like you go back in time and you prevent like the death of like Jesus, what does that do? If Jesus has another like 35, 40 years to like, you know, teach, does that change anything? You know what I mean? Does he have?
Whoa.
I think that would actually.
All right, now Josh is like, you know what I would change? I would change Adam from ever eating the apple. So that's.
Let's go back to the Big Bang. What if it doesn't go off? Hey, man. Hey, dream big, baby. Man. Dream big.
If Adam had never sinned and eaten apple,
okay, we got jokes now. What would you pick?
Would sinning never even be a thing?
Nah, I'd still sin. I'd find a way.
Oh my goodness. All right, what was our next question? All right, conspiracy theory, right? That's one of the biggest points of this podcast, and we finally got to it. It only took us a few months. Do you think time travel is real, Joshua?
I don't.
Really? You don't think it's possible?
No.
I'm surprised.
I think, okay, now if you believe in like aliens, which I don't know, sir. I mean, there's probably something out there. There's probably smarter species than us that have figured out, like,
didn't they admit that aliens are real in here?
Oh, I don't know.
I thought that came out during COVID or something.
I don't know. I think it's all distractions. It's like, okay, so here's the
distractions from what?
Epstein files.
Okay.
Think about it. That's whole like, you know, the whole like Iran thing. That's like, or Iran. That's why they tried to like, it just distracted
Start
everyone
another
from.
world war. Yeah.
I mean, but here's what I've heard before, and this is actually now I'm going to tie back to the Epstein files. So Stephen Hawkins, the legendary physicist, threw a party that no one was invited to, and it was like welcome time travelers. And again, no one was invited. He was the only one there. It had like balloons and cake, and he just wanted to see if anyone, I guess he sent out an invitation in in 2067 or whatever, and no one showed up, and that's why he's like, I don't believe in time travel because of that. But also, Stephen Hawkins was also part of the Epstein files, so that kind of credits what I believe.
Maybe they just didn't want to go to his party.
Yeah. Why would they want to go to his party, Jared?
That's what I'm saying. Like, maybe they're just like, yeah, this isn't going to be that much fun. I don't want to go there. So I think it's real. I think it's possible. I definitely think.
Well, is it real or is it possible? Because,
So you're asking, is it possible or has it already been done? Right? Has it already been done? I don't know. Do I believe that it is possible that there is actively the technology to do so? Hell yeah, I think so, man.
Think about this. Let's just take a step back. You're talking about taking a being, and somehow this isn't like taking them across a distance or space. This is somehow rewinding time and sending them back to a specific period. You think that is achievable? Or
I think it's achievable. I don't think it's perfected yet, and I think that's why we haven't. I think it has not been perfected, but I do 100% think that it's happened and is happening, and that they are testing it and testing it and testing it for sure.
So I think in my opinion, I think teleportation is a more viable. Again, do I think that exists right now? I think they did that with an atom. They did that with something very small. I think teleportation is more likely to happen than time travel. I can't grasp, and this is maybe my smooth brain just can't grasp this, but taking again
smooth or small.
What's that?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Both. Being able to take a being and just being able to send them back. All that matter, sending them back to a specific time. I don't know.
Okay.
Hey, Jared.
Right, man. Agree to disagree. Now, based off of the book, who do you think it was really Lee Harvey Oswald? Do you think
so? I wanted to. I don't know how well you know about some of the JFK conspiracy. So obviously, this book touches on the Lee Harvey Oswald. And I think one of the things that they actually do get into is did he act alone? Was it the Russians or the Soviets that got involved? Because Lee Harvey Oswald did defect to, the Soviet Union for a couple of years, and I think he was granted. He was able to come back to the U.S. I don't remember.
How does that happen? In what world does a government allow you to how did the Soviets allow him to defect back to the Soviet Union? And then the U.S. says, "Oh, you're good, bro. Come on back."
And this is what I think. And this is what I think is part of the conspiracy. That it was a little bit. There was something internally.
Clearly, he was a double agent.
There was something internal. Yeah, either they were using Lee Harvey Oswald to again get information from the Soviets, or they knew damn well what Lee Harvey Oswald was capable of and what the Soviets were going to turn him into. But if we're talking, one of the conspiracies is the CIA involvement. Okay, so you're saying that they have this Russian asset that could easily, terminate the president, JFK, who I think was scrutinizing the CIA for the Bay of Pigs event and was considering dismantling them. And,
what was the Bay of Pigs event?
The Bay of Pigs event, I think it was a covert mission into Cuba. Again, I think they were trying to assassinate Fidel Castro. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's what again, they failed to do it. It was, and again, Bay of Pigs. This is during the Cold War when, the Russians and Soviets are fighting not fighting necessarily, but it's an arms race. And by Cuba being in alliance with Russia, I mean, Cuba is 80 miles from the coast of Florida. So that gives the Soviets, a massive strategic advantage. So you take out the Cuban leader, Fidel Castro, you eliminate that potential threat of, nuclear retaliation. So that was like the Bay of Pigs. I mean, again, you think the CIA would know a little bit? Hey, this guy is potentially dirty. He could potentially do something heinous. Or do you think they almost like protected him so that he would kill JFK? I don't know, man. Again, it's so confusing why they let him back into the States with like, hey, here's your citizenship, whatever they did. And also here, bring your Soviet wife as well, which I think they were all sympathizers, right? They were all sympathizers with like, the Cubans and the Russians.
That's how it was presented in the book as well. Yeah. Yeah. Now, one thing that I just find interesting, to say the least, even back then, I find it hard to believe that the Secret Service did not have every possible angle covered to protect the president. I believe that about that situation, and I believe it about recent situations as well, where there have been what have been considered quote unquote attempted assassinations. And I find it extremely hard to believe that in either time period, the Secret Service doesn't have enough people, doesn't have enough weapons, and weren't prepared enough to manage those scenarios to make sure that the president of the United States of America is not going to be protected while they're giving a speech. I find that extremely hard to believe.
And this isn't a time of peace, right? This is not like, hey, everything
depends on who you ask.
What do you mean?
Time of peace? That depends on who you ask, right? I mean,
this was during Cold War, was it not?
So during a time of peace in that regard, but not everybody's happy that JFK is president of the United States. Not everybody's at peace with that situation.
But what I'm saying is this was not a time of peace. You're
saying not a time.
What I'm saying, this wasn't. So yeah, they should be on their like, they should be on their game. They should be like, hey, like there's threats everywhere. There's probably some covert mission. There's probably Soviet assassins in every corner trying to, behead our leader. Right. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you there. They probably either, they dropped the ball and wised up after that, or they purposefully did not have everything lined up. So
to answer the question, if it was Lee Harvey Oswald, I don't think it was a one-man, all-alone show. I just don't think one person would be able to pull that off completely by themselves, unless we're talking at least not the Lee Harvey Oswald who is described in history, right? Maybe if this was like, Green Beret, Navy SEALs level assassin, maybe. But from what's described in history, that's not who Lee Harvey Oswald was. So, yeah. Do we have another one? Oh, we don't. Oh, we're going to the rating. Are you ready?
Hit it. Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. So we got our ratings here, Josh. So I'll go first because I think maybe I wasn't as big of a fan as you. And we should end on more of a positive note. I do think it was a good book. I do think it was actually a really good book. I think Stephen King is obviously a phenomenal author. Even though it's not a book that I would just typically decide to read, I thought it was phenomenal. I want to read more Stephen King books. I love just how Stephen King not only gets you engulfed into the scenarios where there are moments where I'm a visual learner. I'm a visual person. And so there was many, many times throughout the book where I felt like I could actually visualize what was happening as if I was right there watching it myself. And so that really got me into, like you said, moments where I didn't want to put the book down. Now, that did have moments. I thought there were times throughout the book where different scenarios were a little bit belabored. I thought, there were some stretches in the book where I was like, all right, we could really get through this event or this scene. Yeah, like we don't really need, this is a little too drawn out. Usually around that time, though, he did do a good job of bringing me right back in.
Yeah.
Like a great example was near getting close to the end, where it's the repeated, like, I think Stephen King really drew out the George trying to do this alone at the end. Really like in his head about, does he tell Sadie? Does he not? Does he get help from her? Does he not? Kind of, I think he also drew out the whole telling Sadie that he's from the future part. I think there were just moments in the book. I thought the time period of him trying to save the janitor was a little drawn out, but I do think Stephen King did a really good job in those moments, as I'm about to be like, all right, dude, like what's going on here? Something crazy happened, and he draws me back in. Like the fight that he had with the father of the janitor, or when he gets jumped, like those things really got me like right back into it. So overall, phenomenal book. I actually really did like it, but I'm also just a really tough critic. And I also thought, again, not trying to get super political or anything, but I did feel like he could have done a better job being descriptive of the time period and just kind of being a little bit more encompassing of everything that was going on in that time. Didn't really mention too much of things going, and maybe he didn't want to, maybe he wanted to steer clear of this on purpose, but didn't really get into other factors that I would have liked him to talk about. So.
All right. With that being said, Jared, what do we got?
What do you mean?
What are we giving it?
6.5. 6.5 out of 10. Yeah, 6.5 out of 10. It was a great book, though. Great book. I'm a harsh critic, man. I'm a harsh critic. Wow. I loved the first book, David Goggins Can't Hurt Me, and I only gave that an 8 out of 10. Where if you probably, the way I talked about it, you would have thought I gave that a 10 out of 10.
So before I give my rating, Jared, I appreciate you giving your insight. I really love this book. It was long, and I agree with a lot of the points you're making. I think there was probably some times when it could have been cut short, but then again, you could probably say that about any book, right? Like there's probably parts of a book that are going to like, this is boring, but like with anything, there's a buildup, right? There's a buildup. I think it gives you like a false sense of security. And then just like what you said, boom, he's getting jumped. The boyfriend shows up and is cutting Sadie. I think even some of like the instances where not just the exciting part, but the amount of research he had to have done to like,
that's true.
Think about all of like the objects that were like around during that time. I just remember in the first like 50 pages when he goes in the first time and he tries that sip of root beer and he said it's the best root beer he's ever had. I like my mouth watered. I was like, oh my God, that sounds delightful. Just and even at the very end, he's in the room with the FBI agent and he's like, the phone's for you. And it was John F. Kennedy. And he goes, hey, this is Jack Kennedy. And he even kind of like, how he speaks is how he writes, it out. It was really well done, in my opinion. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I enjoyed the fact that it was a little bit of a thriller. It was a little bit of history, a little bit of a love story. I think it had everything. I'm digging it because it was just a little bit long. Yeah. And in the conspiracy theories, let's be honest, Jared, I was so excited about the conspiracy theories. Like it made it feel like for a second, I was like, this has to be what happened. It has to be Harvey Oswald. But then I went back and like, well, it could have been a couple other things. But anyway, so my rating
be honest with something real quick. Or sorry. Give your rating.
No. Hit me.
Next time you go into a diner, are you trying to get back to the diner to see if
am I going to Chronicles of Narnia my way around? What's Josh doing in the closet? Oh God.
All right, what's your rating, Josh? Give me a drum roll and what your rating is.
I give it a 9.5, guys. I really enjoyed the book.
Wow.
I highly recommend it. And because that brings our average to 8, Jared, we said that anything over an 8 or an 8 and above gets our armchair analysis stamp of approval. So,
Hey.
Stephen King, congratulations. Congratulations. That's probably the highest honor he's ever gotten, by the way.
It's yeah, hands down. Hands down. That's going to be on his obituary one day for sure.
Yeah, on his tombstone.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Stephen King, we'd love to have you. Congratulations. Anyway, Jared, you're up next. You want to give the people a quick little elevator pitch on what we can see next?
I do. And I want to remind people that if you did not get a chance to read Stephen King's 11/22/63 yet, but after listening to us chat about it, go back and forth, give our insights, and you want to give it a read, you think it might be something you're interested in, please go on ahead, go to the link in the bio. You can go to our Instagram page. We have a link in that bio as well. We'll have a link in the description of this video where you can go purchase this book. Obviously, you can purchase it anywhere, but why not help us out and use our link? All right. Now, the next book, Josh, that I'm excited to go over. So this book was recommended to me and gifted to me from a really good friend of mine. And the book is called Drive by Daniel H. Pink, who, funny enough, was then referenced in a similar-ish book that I also read after this for work. So I thought that was really cool. But this book called Drive, The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us, is, without giving too much away, really dives deep into the mindset of understanding what those around you and even yourself, what it takes to keep people motivated and keep people striving to be kind of their best selves and whatever that means for them. So a book I'm super excited to go over. It's another one of those self-improvement books. I can't help it. I'm addicted to them. This is what I love to talk about. So I'll be a little foreshadowing. I'll be really interested in getting Josh's rating on this book as he's giving me some insights off camera about what he thinks. But give it a read if you guys haven't yet. We know that Stephen King's book and us doing our book club was a little bit delayed, but this book by Daniel H. Pink is a shorter read. All right. It's we're talking about, I think, 200 pages max. So not too bad. At the end of the book, make sure you get to the end of the book, because there are some ways that he allows you to kind of put all the concepts he talks about into practice, gives you kind of real life things that you can practice using depending on whatever it is that wherever phase you're in life or whatever you're focusing on in life at this time. So highly recommend. I'm excited to chat about it. Drive. Also can you can go to the link in our description, and go grab it.
And guys, comment. I mean, I am so curious if you've read this book, if you've been curious about any of the books we've read, leave us some comments, chat with us. We'd love to engage. We'd love to
comment, like, share, subscribe, all the things. Shamelessly plugging. We need you guys' support. We appreciate your support. So, yes, sir.
That's all she wrote.
Is that it? That's all she wrote. All right, Josh, you want to close us out?
Hit it.
All right.
Y'all come back now, you hear?